It's May 5th today, and the MV Hondius, a polar expedition cruise ship, became the center of a global health investigation. Three passengers died. Two cases of hantavirus were confirmed by the WHO. Five more were suspected, and investigators were left asking a question that genuinely puzzled experts. How does a virus that live in rural, dusty sheds end up on a cruise in the middle of Atlantic Ocean? Hello everyone, I am Sharayu, your guide to one of the most underrated virus in the world. This is hantavirus. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly what it is, how it works at molecular level, and why the cruise ship outbreak is so unusual. But most importantly, what you can actually do to protect yourself. So, what is hantavirus? Hantaviruses are not new. They are a large family of viruses, at least 38 recognized species globally, 24 of which can infect humans. And here is the key thing: every single one of them actually lives primarily in rodents. Mice, rats, voles, these animals carry the virus without getting sick themselves. They are what we scientists call as natural reservoirs. Humans are what we call accidental hosts. We are not supposed to be part of this virus's life cycle at all, but occasionally we stumble into it. And when we do, the consequences can be a little severe. Now let's look at the virus itself, because this is where it gets genuinely fascinating. Hantaviruses is what scientists call an envelope virus. This means it is wrapped in a lipid bilayer, a fatty membrane. That is actually what they steal from the host when it buds out. It uses the cell's own skin as a disguise. Decorating the outside of the envelope are protein spikes, specifically the GN and GC glycoproteins. These spikes are the virus's keys. They are what it uses to recognize, bind to, and enter your cells. And inside the genetic material, hantaviruses carries its genome as three separate segments. The single-stranded negative sense RNA, named the S, M, and L segments. Think of these as the three chapters of an instruction manual. The S segments encode the nucleocapsid proteins, the protective shell that wraps around the RNA and keeps it safe. The M segment, which encodes GN and GC surface spikes, which are the keys. And the L segment, it encodes the viral polymerase, the polymerase engine that copies the genome and replicates the virus. Once inside a human cell, the virus does something interesting. It replicates entirely in the cytoplasm. It never enters the nucleus. It hijacks the cell's own machinery, copies itself, assembles new viral particles, and buds out, usually from the Golgi apparatus or the plasma membrane, stealing a fresh piece of membrane to make its new envelope ready to infect the next cell. Now, how does it actually spread? Here is the part that surprises most people. You do not need to be bitten to get infected. The most common route is inhalation. When infected rodents urinate or defecate, the virus is shed into the environment. As those droppings dry out, they break into microscopic particles that become airborne, especially if you disturb them. Sweeping a dusty garage, cleaning out an old shed, or crawling under a very old cabin. These are all high risk activities if rodents have been living there. You can also be infected by touching contaminated surface and then touching your mouth or nose. Bites and scratches are a route, but they are rare. This matters the most for the cruise ship story. Almost all hantaviruses do not spread person to person. There is one exception, the Andes strain, found in South America, which has documented cases of human to human transmission, though it is very rare. The cruise ship mystery is one of the section I want to touch. So, how did antivirus end up on a polar cruise ship? Experts are working through three biological plausible explanations, also broadcasted on various news channels. The theory one is the hitchhiker, the most straightforward explanation. Infected rodents boarded the ship, possibly during port stops in Argentina, and contaminated food storage areas, ventilation system, or crew cabins were there were with their waste. This is not as unusual as it sounds. Rodents stow away on ships regularly. The theory two could be the land before sailing. Hantaviruses has an incubation period of 1 to 8 weeks. That is a very long window. Passengers or crew could have been exposed during shore activities in Argentina, like hiking, exploring, visiting rural areas, weeks before any symptoms actually appeared. And by the time people fell ill, the ship was already at sea. The theory three is the human to human transmission. This is the most closely watched possibility and the one that concerns the epidemiologists the most. The WHO noted that some cases had very close contact with each other, and human to human transmission could not be ruled out. Dr. Maria of the WHO said directly, as a precaution, this is what we are assuming. If the strain involved is the Andes virus, native to South America, person to person spread, which is rare, is biologically documented. Investigators are currently sequencing the virus to determine which strain is responsible for this. The answer will tell us a great deal about which of these theories holds true. There are two viruses and two diseases. Where you are in the world determine which type of hantavirus you might encounter and what it does to your body. In Europe and Asia, hantaviruses typically cause hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome, which is HFRS. It attacks the kidneys, cause intense headaches, abdominal pain, internal bleeding, and potential kidney failure. Fatality rates range among 1% to 15% in the recent research papers. In America, hantaviruses typically cause hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, which is the HPS, and this attacks the lungs. They fill it with fluid. Patients experience severe shortness of breath and chest tightness. The fatality rate in America is nearly 40%, which is not a small number. Then comes the symptoms and the treatments. The most dangerous thing about hantavirus is how ordinary it looks at first. Early symptoms are flu like fever, chills, muscle aches, fatigue, nothing that screams rare zoonotic virus. Because of the incubation period is up to 8 weeks, patients often cannot connect their illness to a rodent exposure that happened a month ago. This is currently non-specific antiviral drug treatment specific, and it has no vaccine. There is no vaccine for hantavirus. Treatment is entirely supportive: oxygen, fluids, blood pressure management, and mechanical ventilation in severe cases. This makes early diagnosis critical. And early diagnosis is hard precisely because the early symptoms are so generic. Broad spectrum antivirals are being researched, but nothing is approved yet. The most important part is the prevention. So, the good news is that prevention is genuinely simple. One, if you find rodent droppings, do not sweep. Sweeping kicks particles into the air, and instead spray the area with 10% bleach solution. Wait 5 to 10 minutes and wipe up with paper towels while wearing gloves. The two is seal your home. Rodents can squeeze through gaps smaller than a coin, or sometimes the circumference or the diameter of a pencil. So use steel wool to block any entry points that can be present in your house. 3. In high risk environments, which is the old cabin, sheds, rural storage areas, wear a proper respiratory mask, not a cloth mask, a proper respirator. The MV Hondius outbreak is a reminder that viruses do not respect the boundaries we draw on maps or any cruise ship in between the ocean. Hantavirus is rare, but it is serious. It is underdiagnosed, and the investigators are currently underway through which we might know something genuinely new about this and the family of this virus and how it actually behaves. So, yeah, stay informed, stay curious, and I will see you in the next deep dive. Bye.